In 1967, America stood on the edge of a nightmare. Cities were burning. Racial tension was at its breaking point. Gangs were forming alliances, loading weapons, and preparing for war. This wasn't a rumor. This wasn't exaggeration. Police intelligence warned that a full-scale race war could erupt at any moment, one that would leave hundreds dead and tear entire neighborhoods apart. Detroit was one of the most dangerous flashpoints. Black gangs and white gangs were gathering soldiers. Revenge plans were already written. Once the first shot was fired, there would be no stopping it. Government officials panicked. Community leaders were ignored. Even the police admitted they had lost control. And then, something unbelievable happened. One name was whispered in secret meetings. A name so powerful that even hardened gang leaders paused when they heard it. Muhammad Ali. Not the heavyweight champion of the world. Not the loud, poetic trash talker from television. But the man. The voice. The symbol. Ali had already angered the government by refusing the Vietnam War. He had lost his boxing license. He was under constant surveillance. Yet when he was told that 70 gang members wanted to meet, men known for violence, men carrying deep hatred, Muhammad Ali didn't ask for protection. He didn't ask for weapons. He didn't ask for guarantees. He said only one thing. I'll come. No cameras were allowed. No press. No police. Just one man, walking into a room filled with rage, ego, and loaded guns. People who knew about the meeting were terrified. Some believed Ali would be attacked. Others feared his presence would spark the war even faster. After all, how could words stop men who had already chosen violence? But Muhammad Ali believed something most people didn't. He believed that real power doesn't shout. Real power speaks calmly and makes people listen. As Ali stepped toward that secret meeting, the streets outside waited. One wrong sentence, one insult, one spark, and America would burn. What happened next was never taught in schools. It wasn't recorded in history books. But what Muhammad Ali said that night. By the summer of 1967, America wasn't just divided, it was fracturing. Every night, sirens replaced silence. Every morning, newspapers counted bodies instead of blessings. Detroit had become a pressure cooker. Racial tension had been building for years, but now it was different. This wasn't anger anymore. This was preparation. Black gangs and white gangs were no longer just defending territory. They were organizing, recruiting, and arming themselves for something far worse. Messages were being passed quietly. Meetings were happening in basements, garages, and abandoned buildings. Weapons were being collected. Lines were being drawn. And everyone knew the truth. Once the first attack happened, retaliation would be endless. Police intelligence reports warned that a race war was imminent. Hospitals prepared for mass casualties. Local officials whispered the word no one wanted to say out loud: civil collapse. Community leaders tried to step in. Pastors spoke. Activists pleaded. Parents begged their sons to stay home. But hatred doesn't listen to speeches. And fear doesn't care about good intentions. The gangs didn't trust politicians. They didn't trust police. And they definitely didn't trust each other. So the question became terrifyingly simple. Who could walk into a room full of enemies and be heard by all of them? The answer didn't come from government offices or police headquarters. It came from the streets. Someone said, they listened to Ali. Not because he was famous. Not because he was rich. But because Muhammad Ali had already proven something rare. He couldn't be bought. He couldn't be bullied. And he never spoke from fear. Ali had just refused the Vietnam draft, sacrificing his career for his beliefs. He stood alone while the world criticized him. To many young men on the streets, that wasn't weakness. That was courage. When word reached Ali about the situation, the message was clear. 70 gang members. Rival groups. Uncontrolled anger. No guarantees of safety. Friends warned him not to go. Advisors begged him to stay away. They said, "Champ, this isn't a fight you can win with words." Ali listened quietly. Then he asked one question. "If I don't go, who will?" The meeting had to be secret. No cameras. No press. No police presence. If outsiders showed up, the gangs would scatter, or worse, start fighting on the spot. Ali agreed to every condition. He didn't ask for bodyguards. He didn't demand authority. He didn't try to control the room before entering it. He understood something most leaders forget. Respect isn't forced, it's earned in the moment. On the day of the meeting, the streets felt different. Tense. Heavy. Like the city itself was holding its breath. Inside a closed room, 70 men gathered. Men shaped by violence, loyalty, and loss. And walking toward them was one man with nothing but his voice and his faith. Before we continue this story, backhand index pointing down, subscribe to this channel for real moments of history they never taught us. And comment where you're watching from, because stories like this belong to the whole world. Because what happened inside that room next would decide whether Detroit burned, or whether peace, for one night at least, would win. The room didn't look like a place where peace was made. It was dimly lit, with bare walls and the smell of sweat, smoke, and old anger hanging in the air. Folding chairs were arranged in uneven rows, some pushed back, others pulled close together like invisible battle lines had already been drawn. 70 men filled the space. Some sat with their arms crossed tightly, jaws clenched. Others leaned back, eyes cold, scanning the room for threats. A few whispered to each other, their hands never far from their jackets. These weren't strangers. Many of them had grown up on the same streets, gone to the same schools, played on the same cracked sidewalks. Now they were enemies. Years of violence, retaliation, and buried grief had brought them here. Tonight wasn't about talking, it was about deciding who would strike first. When Muhammad Ali walked in, the noise didn't stop immediately. A few heads turned. Some eyes narrowed. Others looked him up and down, almost disappointed. This was the man everyone talked about? No entourage. No security. No swagger. Just a tall man in a simple suit, calm, almost gentle in his movements. Ali didn't rush to speak. He didn't demand attention. He didn't try to dominate the room. He stood there quietly, letting the weight of his presence settle. Slowly, conversations died down. Not because they were told to stop, but because curiosity replaced anger. Ali looked around the room. He didn't see gang colors or enemy lines. He saw sons, brothers, young men carrying more pain than they knew how to name. When he finally spoke, his voice was low and steady. "I didn't come here as Muhammad Ali the champion," he said. "I didn't come here to lecture nobody." A few men scoffed. Others leaned forward slightly. "I came here because I love my people," Ali continued. "All of them." That word, all, stirred something uncomfortable. Someone muttered, "Easy for you to say." Ali heard it. He nodded. "You're right," he replied calmly. "I don't live your life. I don't walk your streets every night." The room tensed, expecting a challenge. Instead, Ali surprised them. "But I know what it feels like to be hunted," he said. "I know what it feels like to be hated for who you are." Silence fell harder this time. Ali talked about losing his title, about being called a traitor, about standing alone when the world turned its back on him. "I could have stayed quiet," he said. "I could have played the game and kept my money. But some things cost more than silence." A man near the back stood up abruptly. "So what you want from us?" he snapped. "You think talking gonna fix this?" Ali turned toward him slowly, meeting his eyes without anger. "No," Ali said honestly. "Talking don't fix everything." That answer disarmed the room. "But listening," Ali continued, "that's where change starts." He gestured around the room. "Y'all been listening to fear. Listening to rumors. Listening to people who profit when you die." Some men shifted in their seats. Ali's voice grew firmer, not louder. "They don't lose sons. They don't bury brothers. They don't visit graves. You do." One man clenched his fists. Another stared at the floor. Ali paused, letting the words sink in. Then he asked a question so simple it cut deeper than any accusation. Who here wants their mama crying tonight? No one answered. Not one. Ali stepped forward slightly. You think this war gonna make you kings? He asked. All it's gonna do is make you memories. That landed hard. Ali wasn't shaming them. He wasn't threatening them. He was holding up a mirror. You got power in this room, Ali said. More than you realize. If you say, fight, the streets bleed. If you say, stop, the streets breathe. A man near the front shook his head slowly. You asking us to trust people who killed our own? Ali didn't deny it. I ain't asking you to forget, he said. I'm asking you to think. He looked around again. Tonight ain't about loving your enemy. It's about loving your future. The room was completely silent now. 70 men. 70 egos. 70 lives standing at a crossroads. Ali took a breath. This city already got enough graves, he said quietly. It don't need yours. And in that moment, something shifted. Not peace. Not forgiveness. But hesitation. And sometimes, hesitation is enough to stop a war. The silence in the room was heavy, not peaceful, but dangerous. It was the kind of silence that comes right before violence, when emotions churn but no one knows who will move first. 70 men sat frozen, each trapped inside his own thoughts, each weighing pride against survival. Muhammad Ali felt it. He knew this moment mattered more than any punch he had ever thrown. Ali took a slow step forward. Not to intimidate, not to command, but to connect. He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out something unexpected, a folded piece of paper. It wasn't a speech. It wasn't notes. It was a photograph. He held it up gently. This, Ali said softly, is my mother. A ripple of confusion moved through the room. Ali smiled faintly. She worries about me every day, he continued. Not because I fight in the ring, but because I speak my mind. He let the image sink in. Every one of you got somebody like this, Ali said. A mother, a sister, a child. He lowered the photo. They don't care about your gang. They don't care about your pride. They just want you home. A man in the corner scoffed under his breath. Ali didn't react. Instead, he asked a question that cut deeper than anger. Who's gonna tell them you ain't coming back? The room tightened. Ali walked slowly across the front, meeting eyes one by one. No fear. No judgment. Just honesty. You think death gonna make you a legend? He asked. No, life does. A few men shifted uncomfortably. Ali stopped near the center. You all angry, he said. And you got reasons. I ain't here to tell you your pain ain't real. That acknowledgement mattered. Some of you lost brothers. Some of you lost friends. Some of you never had a chance to be kids. The room listened now, not as enemies, but as survivors. Ali's voice grew firmer, grounded. But if you pull them triggers tonight, he said, you don't just kill enemies. You kill futures. He pointed toward the door. Cops don't care who started it. They'll lock up anyone breathing. And the ones who don't get locked up, they get buried. A long pause. Ali changed direction. Let me tell you something about fighting, he said. I've been fighting my whole life. Heads lifted. In the ring, Ali continued, the hardest fight ain't the punch. It's knowing when not to throw one. That line hung in the air. Ali stepped back. You all standing at the same moment, he said. Right before the bell. You can swing, or you can step back and live. One man finally broke the silence. So what you saying? He asked quietly. We just walk away? Ali shook his head slowly. No, he said. I'm saying you choose. That word mattered. Choice. You ain't animals. You ain't tools. You leaders. Ali gestured to the room. 70 men here, he said. 70 voices that can calm streets, or set them on fire. His voice softened again. Put the guns down, he said. Not forever. Just tonight. The request was small, and powerful. Give peace one night, Ali continued. One night to let mothers sleep. He looked around. Tomorrow you can argue. Tomorrow you can hate. But tonight. He paused. Tonight, be bigger than revenge. The tension cracked. Not loudly. Not dramatically. But in small movements. A man exhaled deeply. Another rubbed his face. One slowly nodded. Ollie saw it. He pressed gently. History ain't watching right now, he said. But your conscience is. A man stood up. Then another. No shouting. No applause. Just men standing, unsure, but listening. Ollie finished quietly. If you want war, he said, don't blame the world. But if you choose peace tonight, you'll save lives you'll never meet. The room stayed silent. But it was no longer the silence of violence. It was the silence of decision. And somewhere in that room, the war began to lose. The room felt different now. Not calm. Not peaceful. But open. The anger that once filled every corner had softened into something more dangerous to violence. Doubt. Muhammad Ali sensed it. This was the moment where everything could tip back into chaos. Or finally fall toward peace. Ali took one more step forward. Not closer to power, but closer to humanity. You all looking at me like I'm asking the impossible, he said gently. But I ain't. A few men exchanged glances. I'm asking you to remember who you were, Ali continued, before the streets taught you how to hate. That line hit harder than any accusation. Ali pointed toward the floor. Every man in this room was a child once, he said. Running, laughing, dreaming. No one grows up dreaming of funerals. The room remained silent, but eyes softened. Ali raised his voice slightly, not louder, but stronger. You think your enemies are across the street, he said. But they sitting in high offices, counting money while you bury brothers. That truth landed heavy. They sell you fear. They sell you pride. They sell you the lie that killing makes you powerful. Ali shook his head slowly. Power ain't taking life, he said. Power is protecting it. He walked slowly across the front again. You say you fighters, Ali continued. So fight the real enemy. That line sent a ripple through the room. Ali stopped walking. You want to prove strength, he asked. Then prove you can stop. A man near the back whispered. That ain't easy. Ali nodded. Nothing strong ever is. Then Ali delivered the words that changed everything. Put the guns down. Not shouted. Not demanded. Spoken like a challenge. Put them down tonight, he said. Not because I'm asking, but because your people need you alive. Ali let the silence breathe. You die tonight, he continued. The streets don't remember your name. They remember the mess. The weight of that truth settled deep. Ali leaned forward slightly. But you live, he said. You get to raise sons who don't have to repeat this. A man near the front swallowed hard. Ali pressed on. You think peace makes you weak? He asked. No. Peace takes more courage than pulling a trigger. The room was no longer divided. It was listening. Ali raised his chin. Tonight, he said, you don't answer to gangs. You answer to history. He paused. And history don't care who was toughest. It remembers who was right. One man slowly stood. Then another. Not in agreement, but in acknowledgement. Ali saw his chance. Look around, he said. You already leaders. Now act like it. He took a deep breath. If you walk out and choose war, Ali said, don't say you had no choice. But if you walk out and choose peace, you become something bigger than fear. A long silence followed. Then a single voice spoke. Tonight, the man said quietly, we stand down. Another voice followed. Then another. Not cheers. Not celebration. Just decision. The war dissolved without a single shot. Fire if these words moved you. Subscribe now for real stories that changed history. And comment, peace, if you believe true strength is choosing life. Muhammad Ali didn't smile. He didn't celebrate. He simply nodded. Because he knew. This wasn't victory. It was responsibility. And as those men walked out into the night, Detroit breathed. The doors opened slowly. One by one, the men stepped back into the night. No shouting. No chanting. No victory signs. Just quiet footsteps disappearing into dark streets that, only hours earlier, were expected to explode. Outside, the city waited. Police scanners crackled with nervous anticipation. Hospitals stayed on high alert. Mothers sat awake, staring at doors that might never open again. But something strange happened. Nothing. No shots. No fires. No sirens screaming through the night. For the first time in weeks, Detroit didn't burn. Gang leaders returned to their neighborhoods carrying something unfamiliar: restraint. Word spread fast. Meetings were canceled. Weapons stayed hidden. Messages that once promised violence were replaced with a single instruction: stand down. Not tonight. Some didn't understand at first. Others didn't believe it would last. But the night passed. Then the next. And the city remained standing. The police reports the following morning were confusing. No major incidents. No mass arrests. No blood-soaked headlines. Officials were stunned. They had prepared for chaos. And instead, they got silence. Behind closed doors, city leaders asked the same question over and over. What changed? There was no official press release. No public announcement. Because what happened wasn't written in law. It was written in conscience. Muhammad Ali didn't stay to be praised. When the meeting ended, he didn't give interviews. He didn't call reporters. He didn't claim credit. He simply walked out the same way he walked in, quietly. Friends later asked him if he was afraid that night. Ali smiled and said something simple. Fear don't decide my actions. In the days that followed, the streets slowly shifted. Tension didn't disappear. But it loosened its grip. Men who had been ready to die started thinking about living. Some went home and hugged their children differently that night. Some called people they hadn't spoken to in years. The gangs didn't magically dissolve. But something had changed. They had seen restraint modeled by someone they respected. And respect spreads. Weeks later, one of the gang leaders spoke privately to a community organizer. He said, "That man didn't judge us. He didn't threaten us. He made us see ourselves. That was Ali's gift. He didn't impose peace. He invited it." Even the police quietly acknowledged the shift. Violence dropped. Retaliation cooled. Not because of force, but because influence had stepped in where authority failed. Ali returned to his life. Still banned from boxing. Still criticized by the media. Still under surveillance. But he carried something heavier than titles. The knowledge that lives had been spared. Years later, people would talk about Ali's fights. The knockouts. The championships. The poetry. But this moment stayed mostly hidden. No trophies. No highlight reels. Just a night where 70 men chose not to pull triggers. And one man chose to walk into danger armed with nothing but truth. History often celebrates loud victories. But this one was silent. No parade marked it. No statue commemorated it. Yet somewhere, children grew up with fathers who came home that night. Mothers slept without hearing gunshots. A city avoided becoming a graveyard. That was the result. Not peace forever. Not perfection. But pause. And sometimes, a pause is all it takes to save lives. Muhammad Ali once said, "Service to others is the rent you pay for your room here on earth." That night in 1967, he paid his rent in full. History often remembers Muhammad Ali for his fists. The speed. The footwork. The knockouts. But the most powerful blows Ali ever delivered never landed in a boxing ring. They landed in moments like this. In 1967, when the world expected violence, Ali chose responsibility. He didn't have to walk into that room. He didn't owe anyone an explanation. He was already paying a heavy price for standing by his beliefs, banned from boxing, attacked by the media, watched by the government. Yet when 70 angry men stood at the edge of war, Ali showed up. Not as a champion, not as a celebrity, but as a human being who understood something timeless. Hate grows loud when courage stays silent. Ali didn't lecture those men. He didn't shame them. He didn't pretend their pain wasn't real. He acknowledged it, and then asked them to rise above it. That's leadership. Real leadership doesn't come from power over others. It comes from responsibility for others. Ali understood that violence is easy. Anyone can pull a trigger. Anyone can throw a punch. But restraint takes strength most people never develop. That night, no one became famous. No headlines celebrated peace. No cameras recorded the moment hate backed down. But lives were saved. And that matters more than applause. Think about how different the world would be if more people chose dialogue over destruction. If more leaders walked toward conflict instead of hiding from it. If more voices spoke calmly when everything else screamed for chaos. Muhammad Ali proved that you don't need weapons to stop a war. You need truth. You need courage. You need empathy. And above all, you need the willingness to see your enemy as human. That lesson still matters today. Because the world hasn't changed as much as we like to believe. Anger still spreads faster than understanding. Division still feels easier than unity. But stories like this remind us of something powerful. One voice can change a moment. One moment can save lives. Ali once said, "He who is not courageous enough to take risks will accomplish nothing in life." That night, he took a risk no punch could equal. And because of it, a city lived to see another day. Backhand index pointing down. If stories like this matter to you, subscribe to this channel. We share real moments of history that never made the textbooks. Speech balloon comment, respect, if you believe humility is real strength. Speech balloon or comment, peace, if you believe words can stop violence. And don't forget to tell us where you're watching from. This message belongs to the whole world globe showing Europe, Africa, Red Heart. Because legends aren't remembered for how hard they hit. They're remembered for how many lives they protected.